Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Around the Table GTA. This is actually my first guest episode with someone I've never met before. So without further ado, I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Malachi Watson-Narcisse. I'm a child of God. I'm a husband. I'm a brother. I'm a son. But I'm also an artist and creative here in the Brampton area.
So, how I found you was I was on the bus and I saw this little comic and I was just like, what is this? So I just went through it and I was like, I haven't seen a comic like this in a while. And then I saw your @ so I'm like, okay, let me go on IG, check it out. And it looked like your page was like maybe 2 days old. And yeah, that's how I kind of reached you. I just saw all of that. I'm like, I thought it was interesting. And
did you see me put it in the bus, or like was I already gone by that time?
you're already gone. So there's just maybe like 3, and I was just like, what is this? And then, I took a look at it. But yeah, how did you get inspired to do something like this? Because you kind of see something like this in movies, and it looks like it's kind of becoming a little bit more popular now. I saw that there's like a Toronto Zine going on around now too. So what inspired you to start? Why now?
Yeah, zine making, I don't know what my first encounter was, but there's a few people who really inspired me. There's an artist called Neha Ray. She's also in Brampton. She makes zines. Megan Lim, she makes a lot of zines too. And they sell it at the artist markets that BOW, the Brampton organization, holds. So I've seen those, but what really sparked me to actually start is me and my wife were out in Vancouver, and we were on the bus same way, and this guy put a zine in the place where you have the schedules for the bus, right? So he put that thing in, he got off the bus, and then we took it, and it's a similar thing, like just a lot of funny stuff inside of it, and it was handmade too, so you can tell that he just drew pretty much on a paper, made a collage, and then photocopied it and put it in the bus. And once I saw how easy it could be, that's what inspired me to come back home now and just start mine, because the zines that I was seeing before by Neha and Megan, they put a lot of time into theirs. They make the pictures digitally, and then they do all the color blocking and whatnot, and then they print it, they fold it. It's a really, really beautiful stuff, right? But this one I had seen was really simple, and it just inspired me to just start to do something, because it doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to be complicated. Just do it.
Okay, I like that, because this podcast, it varies, kind of like how we were talking before. Sometimes it could be motivational, sometimes it could be demotivational. That's the thing about mindset, right? Because it is a mindset podcast. There's different ways to motivate people, and we were just talking about culture right now, and sometimes trying to motivate person won't work. Sometimes the connection is through something that's negative, right? So I don't even know where I was going with that.
No, I get what you're saying. The point is that different things motivate different people. I was listening to one of your episodes a while ago, and it was talking about positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement. And there's some people who need you to coddle them before they're motivated to do whatever, but there's other people who like to be embarrassed before they figure out they have to wake up and do something. So I get it.
That's it, right? And I think that's my learning experience from having that mix of the Ghanaian culture and then the Canadian culture. Back when I was growing up, there wasn't so much acceptance, of oh yeah, diversity, everybody's included. It's just no, you sound funny, you have an accent,
your food stinks.
Exactly, right? So I don't want to say it destroyed my mind, but it kind of made me thicker in that sense, where I don't know, the culture, so I could easily roast someone and not be bothered, or someone could roast me and it won't really offend me. Because of those things. And that's how I kind of came up with that concept too,
Yeah. So, let me ask you a question.
All right, I'm on the spot.
I'm dead. Let me ask you a question. What did you think of the zine when you first picked it up? First of all, what made you want to even reach out? Because I've been putting these things on the bus, and I know somebody got to be looking at it, but it's very few people that are reaching out and like showing that appreciation.
Well, for me, like what caught me, because we have the first one here, we have the first edition right here. The first thing that caught me was the B, right? And then I saw that there was the joke, because it's like, it should be the New Yorker, but it's like the TheWhoYorker. So I'm like, okay, this is a funny person. And then that's how I kind of just started going through it, right? Because for me, I bus to work. I don't have to bus, but I like the clarity of the bus, if you understand what I mean, right? So I don't have to think for X amount of time, and then I get to my destination. So I see this thing, I'm like, what's going on over here? And then I went through it, and then I saw the ad. I'm like, okay, I gotta find who made this, because that's how I am. I like to connect, I like to network, and if I see something cool, I like to share it, right? So like my main IG page, it's Tales Adventures, because I like to go on adventures. I just like doing random stuff, right? So yeah, that's what drew me to it, and yeah, now we're here.
True. Cool. I thought you were just a Sonic fan.
No, well, I am a Sonic fan, but the funny thing is, it's a play on words as the years have gone, right? So like when I originally got the nickname was because when I played Sonic with my friend, I'd always be Tails, right? So Tails, and then after, smart kid, Tails, right? But as the years gone on, I always do different things, right? So I always have Tails. That's all, right? So
I see.
Like,
that's a bar. I got it.
Now it's like a double entendre.
Yeah.
It just depends like when you met me in life, right? So and like when I did like a little bit of graffiti and stuff, I was Tails with a Z, right? Because that's how the street stuff is, So it's evolved over the years. So it's more of Tails, but I still keep that original Tails there.
Yeah, my guy was Knuckles still.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Knuckles. He was good, but he was misled, like Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Knuckles, he got fooled and like almost destroyed everything, but Tails and Sonic were consistent and showed him the way. So Knuckles, he is a cool guy, he's hard-headed. They've changed how Knuckles is over the years now too, but he's still that core guy, or he's a tough guy, and he's like for his family or for his people to make sure to like protect the island, right? So I think that's like the baseline for Sonic 3 anyway. Sorry, I'm a game nerd, so he got me on that one.
So you talked about graffiti, like are you deep into the art world like that, or like are you deep into street art, or like?
I enjoy street art. I'm not a person who could draw well. I tried for a bit, didn't work out. Like I had that phase in grade 6, 7, 8 where I'm gonna ride a skateboard and I'm just gonna go do a bunch of random stuff, and I'm black, so I'm like the only black kid at the skate park. I'm going to those emo rock shows and everything, and people are like, oh, it's that guy, right? But the first dip of that type of culture, I played a game called Jet Set Radio Future. I don't know if you heard about it. You should check it out. And it was similar to that, where they had the graffiti, had gangs, but it wasn't gangs in a bad way. It was more of like justice, right? So that's what got me into like the graffiti world, and they had the tags and everything too. So I'm like, oh, you know what, that would be really cool. And then especially when you go out of town, there's always graffiti in every city, every small town. So I like to search out those certain things. And then I don't know many people who do graffiti, but it's something that I enjoy to see, because it's a different type of expression too, right? And it's kind of like that rebellious side, but I think there's a lot of beauty in that side of the world as well. Yeah.
Sorry, bro, I'm not trying to take over your podcast.
It's okay. It's okay. Because the thing is, that's the thing about my guest episodes. It's viewers hear me talk all the time. So I don't mind sitting back, answering some questions, getting involved, because it's about the guest. It's not necessarily about me, and it's about whatever we're talking about too. Yeah. Right? But we were talking about Ghana, and you said that you were in Ghana for a while. How was that? How was that experience?
No, that was cool. I think that's what really rounded me out as a person. Growing up here in Canada, you start to fit into a certain box that society kind of puts on you, and you start to believe it too, where it's like, as a Ghanaian, no, not even as a Ghanaian, as a black person, I have to be listening to hip hop. I have to be, trying to be a gangster. I have to be bad at school, rete, right? But going to Ghana, you go and you learn a bit more about your own culture and about other cultures. And you also get to see that, there's that black smart kid in class. There's that black troublesome kid. There's that kid, who's black but also likes country music. There's that kid that's black that likes Celine Dion, and so on and so forth, right? So going there kind of allowed me to free up in a strange way, where I wasn't being forced to fit into a certain box anymore, and that allowed me to explore what I actually like and what appeals to me. So now coming back to Canada now, I feel like I have a deeper understanding of the world around me. I've seen another way of living. I know a bit about, certain cultures, and I've also gained the confidence to explore other things that appeal to me but might not be the stereotypical black thing to do.
That's awesome. That's amazing because I had a similar experience. Even though I was born here, my first language, my native language is Chi. It's not English, right? Yeah. But how I sound, I don't like when I tell people I speak Chi, it's like, oh, okay, you speak Chi. And then they start speaking to me in English. I understand what you're saying. Oh, yeah, no. And they just keep speaking to you in English. And I'm like, hey, mitibibia, just cut Chi. Like, it's like a big shocker. But like me growing up, having the accent, being born here, being teased, but also learning about different things back home and being raised as if I was back home, right? Like, I'm not going to expose my parents, right? Yeah, but there's a lot of different things that I dealt with compared to other kids who were born here, right? And it changed my understanding and also freed me to express myself in a different way, right? Like, for example, it is a touchy topic, but I'm going to bring it up, like with slavery, how grade 9, that's where everybody learns about slavery. So me having that background of being from Ghana, knowing where I'm from, that didn't heavily affect me to the point where it boxed me in, like how you're saying, or like, oh, I'm, or ashamed, me looking at myself as less than. It's like, no, I know where I'm from. Yeah,
because that's not your whole history.
Exactly.
That's not the start of it.
Exactly, but over here, that's what's like it's shown, and it's shown to everybody, whether you're black, whether you're white, wherever you're from. So it, like, some people don't understand how that affects a black youth, but it's very impactful if you don't understand, because like my first experience with that was like I was like 5 and I was watching TV, and back in the day, you're watching TV on Sunday and it has like the starving African kids, right? So I asked my dad, I'm like, why do you go home every year and there's like starving people all the time, right? So
you've been collecting all of our old clothes, and I see a bunch of naked people on TV. What's going on?
And then he's looking at me and he's like, you watch too much, you can't believe everything on TV, right? And then like he slowly started schooling me about certain things. And like when I went back to Ghana 2018 with my mom, I went to my mom's home place, and when they say you're from somewhere, right? You're from there. Like let's say you say you're from Brampton, right? And it's like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from downtown Queen and Main, right? Oh, you live in that house where Bob's your uncle, Suzanne is your great grandma. It's like people know who live there. So like when you're from there, you're from there. But if they can trace it back. So like that was a big eye opener for me, because it's like this is your house. Yeah, for sure.
And another problem, like with the way we're educated in the system here, is that they don't even give you the full story of what's been going on here. There's a new documentary that I've been tapping into on CBC, and it just came out, and it's about Black Canadian history. And there's so much that has gone on with Black people in Canada that they didn't teach us about. I've been out of school for a minute, so I don't really know what's going on now. But when I was growing up, they only taught us about Martin Luther King, and that was pretty much it. Maybe a little bit of Rosa Parks here and there. But, people didn't know that the first taxi cab service in Toronto was started by a black guy.
I didn't know
right?
that.
There's a lot of history that's been going on since from time. For as long as white people have been in Canada, there's been black people around, right? And even if we knew that history, that would change the way we look at ourselves here, because a lot of us see ourselves as immigrants, like especially in the GTA. It's like, oh, you're not from here, right? So now when people ask you where you're from, you don't even identify as a Canadian because, you know, everyone around you is an immigrant, and they teach you that black people are only here because of immigration. But black people have been here for time. Like, there's people who've been in Nova Scotia, you know, for generations on generations, black people, you know, who all they know is Canada, right? So there's so much education we're missing, for sure.
And it's funny because I had that conversation kind of with my sister, but she wasn't raised the way I was raised, so it's kind of harder for her to understand, where I was talking about, like, you have to control your image, right? So, like, just like how you said, like, when you went back to Ghana, you noticed that there was more of an expression of black people. But before you left, you know, it's like the rappers, the drug dealers,
ball players,
you know, the baller, right? And
basketball specifically.
Exactly, right? And then I saw this clip recently where it was from like the 90s or the 80s, where it was talking about the chances of becoming a basketball player and like to the top level. And it's just like, when you broke it down, I think it was like 10 people would potentially be basketball players from your community. So it's imagine like a community of like 1 million black males, and they're all trying to be like a basketball player. Only 10 will be that level, which is crazy, right? So what I was trying to get at is that, you know, you need to control your image, and whether you see other people doing it or not, it's up to you to make that lane potentially, right? Because I got another funny story. I dyed my hair blonde back in like 2015. I did it for a cosplay because I'm a video game nerd. I'm a comic book nerd, right? So I was cosplaying as Aqualad, right? So he has blonde hair. Okay. I dyed my hair, and I was the biggest joke for about 2.5 weeks, okay? Because everyone was like, why are you dyeing your hair? Oh, you dark like that? You dyeing your hair? Oh, you know, blah, blah. I'm like, you know what? You don't understand? That's fine. About a week later, Chris Brown dyed his hair. Okay. Right? And then another rapper dyed their hair. Right? So I was ahead of the wave.
He's like, I did it first.
I did it, right? I cut my hair, and when I cut my hair, everybody's, oh, why do you cut your hair? I miss your hair. This and that, right? But people were getting ready to cut my hair for me when I did something different. I'm like, do you not remember Elephant Man? Elephant Man had his hair blonde and everything. Yeah. You guys are quick to forget. Like, I think, right? But yeah, people will be roasting me like that. It's like, what do you think you are? It's just like, oh man, you're so corporate now. You're hanging out with too much white people or something like that. It's just like,
they're never satisfied. And you know, not to put anything against, you know, the ball players or the rappers, but you know what you said before about 10 people making it out in that sense, or 10 people becoming professional ball players. You know, that means that there's 500,000 other lanes that you guys need to make up, because you're not going to fit into the NBA. There's only like 200 players in the NBA, and they're coming from all over the world. You need to find something else to do.
Exactly. Right? And there needs to be more examples of that, I guess. But also, I think as a community, it's hard because a lot of people don't realize that being black, it's so diverse. Yeah. Right? It's so diverse that if you're, like, I'm from Ghana, right? Or like my parents are from Ghana. Ghanaians and Nigerians, they're very similar, but they are not the same, right? So then that's just 2 countries. That's just 2 countries. And then after, you have the whole continent. Yeah. Then you have the Caribbean, where that's another story. I'm not even gonna get started out with that. And then they have South America, where, you know, 70% of slaves went there. So it's just like, there is a lot, and at the end of the day, we're all grouped into one big bunch, right? Going back to your Nova Scotia thing, though, I have someone who works at my workplace. She's a Black Canadian, where she's 77, and she, like, last Black History Month, she gave me some books, because it's like you said, you know, her family's been out there for generations, and it was really interesting to see kind of like what Black people had to deal with back then, right? I even learned something which is really funny, and you're gonna be surprised. So you've heard someone call someone like, "Oh, my sunshine," right?
Yeah.
Do you know back in the day that was a racist term for Black people?
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
right.
Yeah.
But you would never know.
You'd
And
never
she
know.
told me
Things
that. I'm
change.
just like, what? It's like,
You know what? It's so hilarious because starting listening to this podcast, there was a time where I couldn't tell who you were. I thought you were brown for a bit.
What?
I thought you were brown because you have that Toronto man accent, not Toronto man accent, but that Canadian GTA accent, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a lot of us do, I'm sure people would say I have the same accent, right? So you could be anything, you could be from anywhere, and I wasn't seeing a lot of pictures of you, so I was like, is this guy brown? Or it wasn't till later on that I kind of pinned it down that okay, he's Black. But yeah, like you said, it's so good to educate yourself, it's so good to travel, it's so good to meet other people and talk to other people. And that's one benefit we have of living in somewhere like the GTA, because we get access to so many different cultures. And I'm really trying my best to tap into a lot of that as much as possible.
Yeah, because for me, it's always been kind of strange. I've always been in a diverse community. After I was about 5, right, I was further away from the Ghanaian community. So all my friends were something else. Mm-hmm. I've never had a group of friends that was just one straight type of people. Even to this day, my friends, it's Black, white, Portuguese. It's just a mix, mm-hmm. right? Even when we travel, I came back from a cruise recently, and we were in the States. We went to the Bahamas, but almost everywhere, all the other people is oh, we're all white, or we're all Black,
okay, yeah.
or we're all Spanish, and that's always kind of been weird to me. Even when we went to Japan or when I went to Ghana, it's because I've been so used to a multicultural society that I sometimes feel like an other when I go back home, or if I go to other areas, because it's just it's hard for me to imagine being in a place where everybody's the same, mm-hmm. But I know it's not just the outside look, everybody's different on the inside, but that's still something that's kind of weird to me, which is kind of strange, but yeah. I don't know if you could really relate.
No, for sure. And that's one thing about, being in Ghana is, most people were coming from the same background. Like I said, everybody has their own interests and they were able to express that. But for the most part, they have a similar ethnic background, right? Mm-hmm. But here, like I said, you have the chance to meet so many other people and, dig deeper into their culture in a way that you wouldn't be able to in other places. You can have the food. In certain places you can even go and see their movies and whatnot, and especially with the internet, it's just broadening.
Yeah, times have changed. So with the TheWhoYorker, or the TheWhoYorker,
yeah.
What is your goal for it?
So my goal right now is just to put out a different issue every month for a year. So I've already started, but from January to December, I'm going to be putting out a different zine every month under that name, TheWhoYorker. And I'm just going to be putting it in public places, on the bus, where I can, or wherever else I may be. And I'm just eager to see the response that I get from it. And I'm also eager to just express myself. I think as an artist, there are times where you compare yourself to other people and you get a bit ambitious, and that kind of stifles your creativity and your love for the art itself, right? So I'm just trying to reignite that love for art that I have. Okay. And just do a fun project that doesn't have anything hinging on it. I'm not expecting to make any money from this, or I just want to, be creative and hopefully have an audience, Oh,
okay. That's cool. Especially with art nowadays, I wouldn't even say nowadays, art is a hard thing to pursue, right? Even like some of the famous artists, they weren't famous until they were dead, right? Yeah. So it's definitely a challenge, and you know, I appreciate people like you. Like when I went on the cruise, I went to an art auction, right? And some of the stuff was ridiculous. There was one lady who bought, it was like 91K.
Wow.
It was 91K. I forgot what it was called. It was one of those like artsy faces kind of thing. If I find it, I'll send it to you. I'll DM you and be like, this is what it was, right? But it kind of inspired me to want to have something, right? Like I'm not like everyone's a material person, but I'm not like a heavy material person, right? But after that art auction, because there was one piece that I wanted, but it was like 2,500 US. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, in my current state, like I'm not a person who's doing horrible in life. I'm doing pretty well with my life. But it's just like, okay, if I buy this piece, how can I show off this piece? Where will I put it? You know, what else do I have that I can magnify this thing that I really appreciate? And if I'm going to drop 2,500 US on it, it's just like, I need to make sure that
it's put to good use.
Exactly. Right.
But you know what? Like, you know, it doesn't have to be $20,000. Right now, you know, the art community in Brampton is really starting to bubble. There's the Brampton Arts Organization that's been kind of gathering us all together and putting on stuff and giving us opportunities. And there's a lot of artists who have art for sale that is much more reasonable to buy. And a lot of these artists are really creative and they're really talented, and you can kind of buy in early before, you know, they blow up and things start to get expensive. So it doesn't even have to be the most famous piece of art. It doesn't have to be Picasso or Van Gogh or whatever, but you can have artists around you that you really appreciate, that you can support for a fraction of the cost, and you can have the pride of knowing that you're supporting, you know, local artists, local businesses, and basically, it doesn't have to be, of course, you know, expensive.
Of course, I'm just saying that one piece kind of like drew me in, because one of my followers, B Moody, shout out to B Moody, he used to be in the GTA. He's in Quebec now, right? But he did art. He's an artist. I call him, like, I'm saying artist like that because he does music now, right? I really love his art. I think his music's okay, but I really love his art. I have like 2 of his pieces, right? And I always tell him, like, hey, let me know when you're gonna start making stuff again, so I can buy it, right? I might post it up. I'll post it up on my story or something, just so you can see what I'm talking about.
Shout out to B Moody.
Shout out to B Moody, right? Yo, keep on making music and make some more art. I'll come by it. I'm gonna grab it, right? You know, I'm here with another artist, so. You know, there's people in that lane, and they're always trying to be creative. And I think that's something about art too, right? Art can tell you about the times, but it's like words. It paints a different picture. Everyone expresses, or everyone sees the expression differently, right? It matters where your mindset is.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think I'm going to try to wrap it up, just because I don't know how much time that you have, right? So I'm going to hit you with some Brampton questions, if you're okay with that. Because you said you claim to be a Brampton man, sir. And, you know, that's a dangerous claim in the internet days, because...
I don't even care. People can come for me as much as you want. You know? Even Drake said you can't run from where you come from, so... This is all I know, and that's all I rep, you know?
And the thing is, I'm glad that I met someone who is somewhat proud of being from Brampton. Were you born here?
Well, I wasn't born in a Brampton hospital, but I've been raised here from before I was a year old. Okay. Obviously, I've traveled a bit, but I've always, you know, I've never been ashamed of, you know, claiming Brampton. Cause what else am I supposed to claim, you know?
Yes, you're not one of those waste men who are like, yo, I'm from Toronto. Right?
Yeah, I was conceived in Rexdale, so technically I'm from Toronto.
Right, and that's similar to me. Like, I was born in Toronto, but I was raised in Brampton. Exactly, I'm not going to be like, yo, I'm from Toronto. Exactly. I don't claim those streets, right? Exactly, I'm out here. Yeah. But how do you feel about present day Brampton?
Brampton.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, there's a lot of great stuff happening in Toronto, and I won't deny that. You know, Brampton is not a big metropolitan city when it comes to the world stage, but there's stuff to do here, and like I said, the art community is bubbling, and I'm really excited to see where it will go, and yeah. So basically, I'm pretty much content. Like I don't have too much to complain about, except for the cost of living, but that's a worldwide thing. So aside from that, I feel like it's a place where stuff is at a level where it's accessible. You don't feel like you have to be a superstar to get involved in stuff. There's stuff available to do. There's places to go. There's food to eat. Toronto's not that far away, so I'm cool with what's going on here.
Okay, so how do you feel about past Brampton?
I don't really feel no ways. Like, I feel like places go through cycles, right? Like, there was a time when Brampton wasn't anything more than a stick in the mud, right? And everywhere in the world had to start from that place. And so Brampton in the past, like I have memories of going to school here and whatnot. I cherish those memories, but I don't really have any like emotional thing where it's like, oh, Brampton is not this or Brampton wasn't that. Like it has to grow just like anywhere else has to grow.
I like that mindset because I know a lot of Bramptonians talk about the past Brampton and current day Brampton and different little things because like my favorite part of old Brampton was that it was a growing city, right?
Yeah.
So some places where there's bare houses, that was farmland, right?
Yeah.
I have memories going
Yeah.
to places like, there's an abandoned farm, there's like 3 houses in that space now. And it was like, I think I'm just a person that likes growing cities where they're not too big yet, where you could explore. And then like when you're at the edge of the city, oh, it's farmland, or, at certain times of the night, if you're in that part of the city, it's dark, right? You could see the stars and stuff, right? I remember I was talking to someone else where I'm like, every time I see stuff on the news in Brampton, I'm like, that's part of Brampton now? Because before, Springdale, it's Brampton, but you would call it Springdale. Like Castlemore, it's part of Brampton, but that's Castlemore. Just all these different places, like Mayfield's always been part of Brampton, but it's like, oh, that's Mayfield. It's Mayfield, right? But now, if you look at a map or even if you talk to people, it's like, this is Brampton. This is Brampton.
Yeah.
So last Brampton-based question is, how do you see the future of Brampton with what you're expressing? Is it on the positive side or is it on the negative side?
Yeah, I don't have really much negative to say. Like I said, everybody has to start from somewhere. Everything starts from something. So the future can only go up from here, in my opinion. And, pertaining to the art community is a very exciting time. Everybody's getting together and doing stuff and supporting each other. And, people are being creative. And so I can only see that benefiting the city going forward.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Because it's good to see a positive way of things, because when we kind of try to stay in the past, we're not growing, and then we also might not be seeing the positive change that is coming.
Yeah, and just take advantage of the things around you. Like, it's basically glass half full or glass half empty mindset. Like, we have a lot of Indians here, right? That doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like, there's people who've never met an Indian in their life. This is the opportunity for you to get to know about the culture. Like, don't let it be for nothing. Like, learn about partition. Learn about where these people are coming from. Learn about the history of the Punjab, the Mughal Empire. Like, learn about these things so that when you go to a next place and you say you're from Brampton, it won't be for nothing. Like, you'll actually know what things are about. And to be honest, a lot of us, that's one thing that I learned in Ghana too, is that a lot of us are very similar. As much as we have different cultures, our motivations and our wants and our needs are very similar. So the people that you see around you, as much as they might look different than you or they might eat a different food, they are just trying to make a living just like you. They're just trying to have a family just like you. So, just take advantage of what's around you and get the best out of it,
Amen. I believe that, because like I was talking to a friend, and he used to live in Brampton, and he's always always sending me Brampton memes or like car accident videos, and I'm like, dog, you send me these videos all the time. You never ask me if I'm okay. Right?
What if I was the one in the car accident?
Exactly, right. Just like, yo, you still in Brampton? And I'm like, I went to Bramley recently. I don't know if you've been there recently. They have a roller rink upstairs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's a roller rink upstairs.
Bramley City Center?
Bramley City Center.
Upstairs?
Upstairs, where the McDonald's is.
A roller rink?
There's a roller rink.
I know there's a good, what's it called? What's the gym called?
Good Life?
Good Life. I know there's a Good Life.
I don't mess with Good Life. We're not. That's the end of the episode right there. No, I'm kidding. I think there's an episode that I talk about Good Life. But yeah, there's a roller rink. Like you get the roller blades like the 70s.
Interesting.
I think it's like brand new. Yeah. But okay. I was there and I was just like, what is going on? So I'm like, Brampton's really stepping up. For me, I think Brampton needs more of like a universal nightlife. Right? I think the younger people or the people who are out there trying to find someone have nothing to do here. So that's why they're going to Toronto. That's why they're going to Mississauga. Yeah. That's why they're going to different ends, because it's just like, okay, it's 8 p.m. Yeah. There's nothing to do in Brampton.
No, that's true.
Right?
Yeah, so that's true. But again, like I said, it's only up from here. Like eventually somebody's going to be like, hey, I want to do this in Brampton. So once that happens, just support it and hopefully it'll stick.
That's it, because like that's why I got the logo change, because like the original logo, it had the CN Tower, and I'm like, no, that's doing Brampton dirty. I've been here for too long.
No, exactly. And shout out to Toronto too. Like obviously I go to Toronto all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. But all I'm saying is just, if there's something close by, something local, something new
that you could support, you could bring on,
try it out. I mean, at least give it a try. If it's not good, it's not good. But,
exactly, right? And that's one thing about all of that. But either way, this was the guest episode with the TheWhoYorker. Do you have any last things to say? Anything that you want to shout out? Anyone you want to shout out? Anything you want to plug? This is your opportunity.
Oh, okay. First of all, I gotta shout out my wife, who's been so supportive of me doing art, and when it comes to so many other things that I don't have time to mention on the podcast, shout out my wife for supporting me and being my best friend. And then also shout out to the Brampton Arts Organization for all the work that they've been doing, all the people there, all the artists who are involved, Neha, Safra, Sima, all of them. Shout out to them. And shout out to whatever this podcast is called, Around the Table GTA.
Around the Table GTA. Around lots of words.
GTA for having me on. This is my first time on a podcast, so it was a very exciting experience for me. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Hopefully, maybe in the future, a year from now, maybe when you blow up as an artist, you can give us a shout out. Maybe we'll have the first signed, but overall, I'm happy that you came. I'm happy that you made it. I'm happy that you weren't a no-show, and hopefully people do enjoy this episode. So if you do like this episode, share it, like it, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.